Vad Chamishi, I want to have a look at how do you handle criticism. Somebody comes up with a critique of you, and how do you handle that? If we're talking about this whole subject of hakpada, being makbid on people, one of the things that causes hakpada is when you get criticized. So how do you deal with that? Okay, so Vad Chamishi, everyone with me? Okay. So it's actually ideal. This Vad is very short, so we can actually finish it. We can finish it by the time our guest speaker comes, and then it's Hashem. Tomorrow we can do Vad Shishi, and Vad Shvi we don't really need. So it actually works out, perfectly that we're going to finish this whole series of stuff here. Okay, so let's go. Me'advarim ar margizim et ha'adam biyoser. The things that make us, everyone who wants over there, there's sheets over there. Vad Chamishi, Vad Shishi, there's 2 different sheets there, so make sure everybody has. So one of the things that makes us most angry, hu kasher shomea sha'anashim dibru alav divrei kintur ubikoris, is when you hear that someone spoke criticism about you. Right? Do we all relate to that? It's not easy to handle criticism. Yeah. It's not the easiest thing in the world. It doesn't feel very good. And it makes us angry. Chara lezeh, lo lezeh. And you get angry at this person. Eich mil'eim libam. He's in the plural, actually. How did they fill their hearts? Lahatzigo ba'or shlili kazeh, to present us in such a negative light. Right? Whereas when somebody says criticism, not only we're upset if they give us the criticism, but we're even more upset if they said it in front of other people, or maybe even spoke behind our back. We can't handle it. It's very hard for us. So he gives us an amazing eitzah. And again, this eitzah here, you have to be on a madrega. I'm telling you now, you have to be holding somewhere, but we will hear this idea. But this is, let's see what he says. Rabbeinu Agon Rabbi Yisrael Salanter, Schusa Yagen Aleinu. Yeah, Limanu Acheret. So Rabbi Yisrael Salanter teaches us another approach over here, a different approach. V'hu himlitz al kegon zeh, and he advised in this situation, as a pasuk. This is a pasuk that we say all the time, guys. Okay? There's a pasuk that we say that B'kamim alai mereim, when will stand upon me. Mereim is those who want to do me evil. Tishmana aznai, my ears will hear. Where's that, guys? Kabbalat Shabbat, Mizmor Shir, Yom HaShabbos. Also in the morning. We say it in Psukkah Zimra in the morning as well. And at the end of davening, right? So we say it 3 times on Shabbos. That when those who rise up to do evil upon me, my ears will hear. Yeah? So that's a fascinating thing. In other words, what's the pshat? What's David HaMelech saying? When people speak about me, I listen. Fascinating. I start listening. What do you mean? Why do I start listening? What's going on here? So let's have a look. Yeah? So now Rav Loeb is explaining. Kach amar, this is what David HaMelech meant. Kasher kamim alai mireim, when will stand upon me those who have evil intent or bad intent. Ve'hem anoshim hamidraber alai legnai, and people are speaking badly about me or speaking in a denigrating fashion about me. Tishmana aznai, I'm going to listen. Azin heitiv, I'm going to listen well. Ki bazeh uchal lilmod lahakir es atzmi. That's how I'm going to learn to recognize myself. Yeah? Again, this is a madrega. But a person who's trying to grow, when someone criticizes him, or critique comes his way, he looks at it as an unbelievable, he's hit the jackpot, because he's learning how he has to grow. Right? Most people are like, I hate this guy. How could he talk to me about this? How could he present me in such a negative light? The Ben Aliyah, the person who's growing, looks at it like, okay, you know what? I can learn from this. I can get something out of this. Yeah, I can grow from this. Yeah, which is an amazing. It's a level, but it's definitely something that we would like to incorporate in our lives. Imagine life if we did that. We'd be growing all the time. Yeah, so I'm listening well. Yeah, I can learn how to recognize myself. B'vada yeshkan bikoris amitis. For sure, there is true criticism here. Hachoshefes chulshati, which is expressing my weakness. Be'ezu mida, in a certain character trait. Shadayin lo amadati aleh, and I did not pay attention to it. If a critique comes your way, listen, if it's something you know already, go, yeah, I get it, I know I got that, that's part of my baggage. But when a guy comes with something you weren't expecting, so you're learning something new about yourself. Now again, it doesn't mean that every time they criticize you, say, yes, emes, I need to fix this. But you're open and you're listening. And there may be emes in it. You know what? And a lot of times there is emes in it. A lot of times there's emes in it. If a guy hits you on a certain point, a lot of times there is emes in it, right? So you pay attention. So instead of this becoming something, you hate the guy, and you're makbid on the guy, you're upset with the guy, this becomes a huge benefit to you that you're learning more about yourself and how to improve. Yeah? Okay? Umehem el ma elamed ma alay letaken. And from this I can learn what I can fix up. And he says, where is the source of this? Das chochma musar, right? Which is Rabbi Yerucham, but he brings, Rabbi Yerucham was Rav Olba's Rebbe, Rabbi Yerucham Levovitz, who was the Mashgiach Amir in Europe. And he brings also in Eretz Yisrael, he came to Eretz Yisrael in the end of his days. But he brings down that he heard this from Rabbi Yisrael Salanter. Zo simen heker lebal musar amiti. This is how you can recognize a real Bal Musar, a true Bal Musar. Harotzeh, Tamid lahakir atzmo yoter. He always wants to understand himself better. Kidei letaken atzmo yoser. That's on the second page. That he can fix himself up more. So, in other words, a real Bal Musar always wants to know himself better, good or bad. Listen, we're all a mixture of good and bad. We're not all bad. We're not all good. We're a mixture, right? He always wants to recognize himself. What is missing that I can do a little bit more? I can strive to do a little bit more than I was doing before. Right? Vafilu misonim. And even those who hate him. But nefesh, hu muchan lishmoa, he's willing to hear them too. Divrei bikoret, v'od yismach al zeh, and he'll even be happy about this. Now again, so, how many guys really hate you? I don't know. But I hope not. But you could even hear, like, let's say, for example, in this country we have hatred. A lot of secular people hate the religious people. So you know what? You can always say, oh, this secular guy, what is he? Or you can hear, maybe there's something there. Maybe something could be learned. Maybe something could be absorbed. And so all these kids always say, well, he eats tray food and he's not from and he doesn't care about Torah. Or you could hear, maybe there is something there that you could learn from, right? So in any case that anyone has a claim against you, you can learn from it, right? Okay? And v'yismach al zeh. He's going to be happy to have the, because again, a lot of businesses or politicians, what they do? They surround themselves with yes men. You know what I'm saying? Yes, boss, whatever you say, boss. A guy's not going to grow like that. How's a CEO, how's a president, how's a senator, how's a guy going to grow? He's going to grow by having people who are critical, and people that challenge him, and people that push him, and people that, it was very interesting. I can tell you a little bit the history in the center. I mean, when we started the center, I was like a dictator here. Yeah, I didn't want to hear from anybody. That's how I ran it. And slowly but surely, I started having staff meetings and started listening. It's very hard. You've been in education 20 years, 25 years. And you have some little Pitzkala who just came into the staff, a year ago, and he's coming up with all this. But that's how you grow. That is how you grow. When you're listening to people, you hear their input, you hear what they're saying. That is how you grow. Even sometimes they may be critical of the way things are going and the way you're running things. That's how you grow. That's how you become better. So it's to embrace criticism. To be able to embrace criticism. So this is a whole different thing, because a lot of times with criticism, you hate the guy, you get angry with the guy, how dare he, he insulted me and this and that. And again, these vadim here, what Rav Olba is doing here in Akpada, there's a whole other set of vadim, which we will do next year, on anger. And those vadim get into the nitty-gritty of how we react that way and why we react that way. But right now we're doing it in a more, Akpada, these vadim are a little more superficial. But certainly we have to be aware of the fact that criticism is not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. Again, if the guy is coming from a bad place, and he's making no sense, and he's really not, the critique has no validity whatsoever. Okay, so you don't have to accept it. And that sometimes is the case. But a lot of times there's a little bit of emes in there, that you can grow from. Let's even say the guy's 80% coming from a bad place. gaiva or interpersonal interest or whatever it is he's coming from. But there might be something in there which is emerson. You can learn from, you can grow from. Hulo yitra gaze. You don't get angry like this. Listen, let's say a guy critiques you, and let's say it's 80% off and 20% is valid. You've gained. Why are you getting angry at the guy? You gained. Yeah? Hulo yitra gaze. V'gam lo yishaber mi bikoret. This is very important. He will not be broken by criticism. Yeah? Now I have to tell you guys, no one criticizes you more than guess who? Your wife. They have this built-in laser ability to hone in on things. And the guys who are who is she? She doesn't even learn Torah. They come in with this whole. No, I'm just saying. I hear guys react like that. And I'm the leader of the home and all this kind of stuff. Those guys have problems in Shalom Bayis. They do. If she's criticizing, there's usually some emes in that. There's usually emes in that, and it's even. You have to get behind why she's criticizing. Most of the time she's criticizing because the husband's not paying attention to her, he's not giving her enough affection, he's not present, he's not there in the home enough. And so the criticism is just kind of a way of her expressing her frustration that the husband he's not there. So these kind of things, a person, once he doesn't get broken. So what? He got criticized, so what? Fight. Maybe I can learn, maybe I can be better, maybe I can improve myself. Why should you be broken from that? And again, he has other vadim here on self-image, which we'll deal with that as well. What is self-image? What's healthy self-image? We got some stuff that we have to do here. It's a lot in this book. But that, so that's, this thing over here is he doesn't get broken. If he looks at criticism in the positive light, that there's good things in it, he doesn't get broken. Ad kama shetiyeh charifa, even if the criticism will be very sharp. And again, you're more likely to hear that from your wife than anybody else. Could be your boss. Could be your boss at work, but that's really the two areas where you may be getting hit with something, pretty intense. Yeah? V'yibachen et atzmo, and he looks at himself well, heitev, im ein kortov shel emes, if there's not a little bit of truth, b'divrei abikoros shelehem, in their criticism. Yeah? Zohi agisha mufuchachat. This is a sane approach. El atzmo, to yourself, shaleh dibarnu b'mareches limud hamusar. He spoke about this in another place, how to look at yourself. This is a healthy approach to look at yourself. You're comfortable enough in your own skin. You feel, confident in who you are enough that if somebody comes with criticism, you're willing to listen. And instead of looking at it as an attack, instead of looking at it as an attack on your integrity or anything else, you look at it as an opportunity to grow. Right? Gam be'inyan zeh. So now the problem is practically how to put this into practice. You can't just invite people to give you, to critique you, So it's kashal islamet. How are you going to practice this, right? Me'ein is damnut tkufa lishmoa becoming alay mereim, because you don't have the opportunity on a regular basis to hear people speaking badly about you, right? It just, as it comes up, it comes up. Yeah? But so how do you work on this? How do you work on this thing? So he's saying over here, V'nuchal rak liskoinein lekach. All we can do over here is prepare ourselves. She'im tavo is damnu zos liadenu, that if will come this opportunity into our hands, if the opportunity will come into our hands that someone will criticize us, nismach al kach, we'll be happy about it. Kimotze shlal rav, like a person that finds a great treasure, right? Criticism is one of the keys to growth. It's one of the keys to growth. And so if you look at it that you've won the lottery, you won a treasure, you prepare yourself mentally for that, you'll handle criticism much better. You can't prepare. You can't okay, go to your chavrusa now. Okay, give me criticism, or go to your roommate now. Go to your rabbi. Okay, I used to love that guys come to me and say, Rabbi, what do I work on? Oh, gee, I don't know. Give me a chance to think about it. And you don't want to overdo it. You don't want to push the guy too much. You don't want to make him feel bad about himself. So I'm saying, but if you do mentally prepare yourself, that criticism is a positive thing. That's how we grow. That's how we develop. then you'll hopefully react differently. If it does come your way, you'll react differently. Okay, thoughts or ideas? I don't know if I want to start the Vad Shishi because we're going to break off in another 3 minutes. Any thoughts or ideas or anything else? Yes.
That's maybe not the best way, but I've read in Kisur Shulchan that says the best form of revenge is to better yourself as a person. So it's like, you can even look at it like they're already helping you. Like they're giving you advice.
That's what he's saying. That's exactly what he's saying.
Way, like,
they're giving you a road forward how to improve yourself.
Right.
Yeah. That's what he's saying.
Right.
But again, it's flipping a switch. We generally don't look at it that way. Generally, the natural reaction when a guy criticizes you is, who's this guy? Like a nudnik, you know? He's a nudnik. He's always jumping into my affairs and this and that. That's what David HaMelech said. Kamim alai mereim, when those who don't want well for me, what do you say? Lo akshiv aznai. How's the rest of the puzzle go? Something aznai, with my ears. What does he say? He says, tishmana aznai. My ears listen, you know. So that should be the reaction. There probably is something emes there, and there's something I can grow in.
It's like a process, though. I mean, it's not instant. Like you probably will get angry in the
Yeah, 100%.
How could he speak to you?
So again, all these vadim here, musar is slow. If you try to do musar right away, it's not good. It's not good if you try to change yourself overnight and change like this and change like that. Generally, it's not healthy. It's not healthy. In Yiddishkeit too, it's not healthy to grow too fast either. Anything fast usually is not healthy. And you see, it doesn't. You see these guys become instant Jews. The guy's been in yeshiva a month and he's with a black hat and he's going. It's not healthy. The whole thing is not healthy and usually crashes. It's not. And same thing with midos growth. You go to an extreme, and like you're inviting people to criticize you. It's not real. You're faking yourself out. But to be aware of the fact to start shifting the head. Start shifting the head that I'm not, every time someone criticizes me, I'm not going to blow up. I'm not going to get angry. I'm not going to deny. I'm not going to go into denial here. I'm going to start listening, right? To be on the point where you're like jumping up and down when someone criticizes you, that's a very high level. That's a high level. But to start listening, start hearing, start realizing that criticism helps me grow. That's a start in the right direction. Then you start mentally preparing yourself now. Next time criticism comes, you may have a different reaction. You still may get angry, but then you may calm down and say, hey, wait, maybe there's something here. Maybe I should listen a little bit. Yeah, Jordan?
Sometimes I've even found that asking for people directly for criticism can be like a helpful first step because you're in a position where you know that you have to drop your barriers of instantly reacting.
Could be. But again, you don't want to, what I'm saying is you don't want it to be fake. You hear what I'm saying? Because then you're putting the guy on the spot. Like he has to give you criticism. Like I said, when Bachman comes to me, what I have to work on, I used to get nervous about it.
It's hard.
Because it's forced. If I see something, I'll go to the guy and say, listen, this I think, this needs to be addressed. This is something you should be working on. When a guy just comes up, it's like fake. I'd say to the guy, well, come back in a few days. Let me think about it. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to just throw something out there, especially when you're talking about a person and his midos and his self-image and everything else. Just shoot something out there. You want to think about it. But it could be, At least like that, you're not on the defensive because you've actually taken the offensive. Yeah. Any other thoughts or ideas? Okay, so we have one more Vad tomorrow, which is perfect because Vad Shvi we really don't need. And so we'll do Vad Shvi tomorrow, Vad Shishi tomorrow. And then next month I'll think about, because guys wander in at the beginning of Zman, I may do a couple of short things. From Chelik Aleph, they were Musa Shmuzim. They were Volbe, where he was a Mashgiach in Ber Yaakov Yeshiva for many, many, many years. And so he said Shmuzim, and he wrote up his Shmuzim. That was the first volume of Al Yeshur. This volume was after he left the yeshiva, and he opened up a Musar house. And these were like Vadim that he said in the Musar house. So he would work on a meter for a month, so a month, 2 months. So that's why this style is very different. But because people are coming in late, whatever, so we'll do the Chelik Aleph, the first volume. We'll do maybe 1 or 2 of those short pieces at the beginning of the year, and then we'll take on Amida. Okay. Good, boys.
Thank you very much.
Let's see if